But at the end of the day, it's a chain reaction. If you can manage to if you can give the real visibility, and if the customers themselves, at the end of the day, air freight is the last, minute stuff. They're already late. There's nothing else to be done. Otherwise, everybody wants to ship everything, maybe with ocean freight or with rail freight as much as they can. But when they can't, they end up shipping with air freight. So if you give the visibility as a chain reaction, that I want to tie this into, then you are allowing them to make better plans, right? So that's very important. And if people can plan ahead of time, then they will be using air freight much less. And they can also, to be honest, have more time to think about sustainability.
Yeah, well, as I was saying, in US, as you were saying, the US controls so much of the supply chain, and I think that is why they put in so much of incentives now with, making it more sustainable, etc. And but do you think how fast do you think that adoption to sustainability will happen now in the US? You are based there. How have you seen companies adopting that sustainable approach? Are they going to take on that incentives?
I mean, everybody is doing their best. Let's put it that way. Of course, a lot of companies have their own, uh, commitments there that they are already sharing as well, with the investors or with the market, big ones as such. But when it comes to really doing what needs to be done, right? I mean, we all know that in the world we are already late. I mean, there is a big issue that we are facing at this point. I mean, in US, different states have different regulations as well. Los Angeles or California by itself, actually, as a state, is a perfect example of, go green. They are pushing towards making the industry greener as much as they can. So yeah, there are efforts there, and but it's not an easy transition, right? And because it all comes, I mean, we all have to, I think, thank Tesla, doing what they have done in terms of electricity usage. But even autonomous trucks, even all those things are, unfortunately, it's not maybe good, but it's very far away still because legislations are not there. US is a country where these things takes a lot of time in order to prepare for it. Legislations needs to come in place, but of course we have efforts, right? I mean, we are also in our own warehouses using more electric forklifts versus gas ones, etc. As well as the trucking industry needs to transform in United States, as well as rail is another one. But at least US has a very nice infrastructure on rail. So besides trucks, which are carbon emission is very high, but at least there are a lot of railway is already being used in the United States. But if we gauge, we are far away from where we're supposed to be. We need to invest more. All companies who are doing this needs to invest more. It's also beneficial from their pockets, but it's not an easy transition from gas to electricity or from anything else to more sustainable ways of doing it. But I'm glad that I'm seeing a lot of things happening, at least, or people are pushing towards.
Definitely. I mean, we have that climate change is the future of tomorrow. I mean, we know everything that we're going to do today is going to benefit our kids, our grandkids, everything else. And yeah, so it's important. People don't realize that, but it is important. Alhamdulillah, I know you're always dealing with clients, and one of the things I wanted to ask you, because SFL Insights is a visibility tool, but do you ever get clients coming to you and saying, "I also want to do SFL Insights because of I want to drive sustainability in the industry"? Have you ever had that unique uh, request?
Really, I don't think I have. I wish someone could though, because I think that unfortunately the shipping industry has like it's notorious for being a very dirty industry, right? Because of all the kinds of emission that that it is responsible for. So I don't think, in many ways, for most of the companies, especially the ones I've spoken to, I don't think green technology is something that is at their forefront. But I've seen a few of them like write about it and talk about it, especially like recently. But to say someone asks me, what is the impact, environmental impact for SFL Insights in this thing, I've not had that question. But I'm looking forward to someone who would ask me, because what I will tell them is, um, a good example is, think about how inefficiencies in any process, right, kind of increases the cost of that particular process. I would say that one of the good things that shipment visibility does is, because the right information is always getting to the right people at the right time, right? And you're always aware of what's happening. You can plan out your shipment process or your freight forwarding process in such a way that you eliminate most of these inefficiencies. And by eliminating most of these inefficiencies, what you're doing is you're driving down basically how much fuel or how much hydrocarbons are being burnt, right? And then released just to move a shipment, whether it's through by flight or by sea. So for me, I think that visibility has a lot to offer in terms of creating like a more greener uh, shipment process and freight forwarding process. But I've not had the pleasure of anyone asking me that question yet.
But absolutely, you're spot on the point. It reminded me, maybe my air freight friends will be very angry to me when I say this, but at the end, we all know that air freight is the most carbon inefficient way to ship cargo, right? Because of the carbon emission amounts. So, but at the end of the day, it's a chain reaction. If you can manage to if you can give the real visibility, and if the customers themselves, at the end of the day, air freight is the last minute stuff. They're already late. There's nothing else to be done. Otherwise, everybody wants to ship everything, maybe with ocean freight or with rail freight as much as they can. But when they can't, they end up shipping with air freight. So if you give the visibility as a chain reaction, that I want to tie this into, then you are allowing them to make better plans, right? So that's very important. And if people can plan ahead of time, then they will be using air freight much less. So, and they can also, to be honest, have more time to think about sustainability, to think about, by looking at their shipments and then saying that, you know what, if we switch this amount of air freight, which in the previous companies that I worked with had a lot of carbon emission programs, right? The shipping lines can give you this data. If you ship with us, this is how much your carbon emission is, etc. So we had some customers who were at that point in their overall supply chain that they are really in control, because they are having visibility through either us or either someone else. So they can be able to plan ahead of time, so that they can make actually plans. Hey, we have this amount of air freight next year, our budget, we would like to concentrate to shift this air freight towards ocean freight or towards rail freight. So visibility again is coming into the effect here, which makes a big difference in everybody's life. So that's very critical.
It's fine. I wanted to piggyback off of something he said, about planning ahead of time, right? And how that makes you far more efficient. I think the emphasis is what Ahmed talked about when he talked about time, right? More often than not, for freight forwarders, you have customers coming in to tell you that, look, I want to ship this thing as quickly as possible. And you are also trying to give them best effort and make sure that their shipment gets there on time, right? So in many ways, I understand why, for maybe for freight forwarders or for organizations that are doing logistics, why in some ways they are also at the mercy of their customers, right? So if your customer is somebody who plans ahead, then that helps you, right? But adding to that, like you said, when you give them the place to plan, that headspace, now they can start thinking about other solutions like, okay, how do we make our business processes greener, right? And especially considering the fact that now there is the whole idea of a carbon tax coming up. And companies, I think a lot of countries are trying to implement carbon tax on companies and limiting how much carbon they can produce in a year. This is somewhere where I see like feasibility tools coming, because now you have more time to think, now you have more time to plan, and your customer as well. Because your interaction with your customers has in many ways been automated as well, that will give the freight forwarder more space. Like, rather than deal with customers more often, it allows you more space to think about planning and all of these things going forward. And if you include something like a business analytics tool or some sort of business intelligence as part of it, you're helping them kind of cut down on how much they need to spend to do reports and all of these things, right? So they make decisions quicker. And because they make decisions quicker, it's more efficient. And because it's more efficient, again, they will have more time to do more planning and to make their shipping lines much greener in that sense.
Yeah. Absolutely, Anando. I absolutely agree with you. I mean, we all just hoping for the best and hoping that, yes, as you said, like, with all these carbon tax emissions and even with these incentives going around, we're hoping that even with Canada and the environmental restrictions there and, the laws that they have there, these are all driving sustainability in logistics environment, driving it to a more paperless, more productive environment. And we've seen that this is where we have to go, is because, as Ahmet, you said, the generational gap now. We have the different generations. We have the Gen Z coming into the workplace. I remember 20 plus years ago when I finished school, I was a millennial. I was in the driving seat because technology just came in. So that's exactly what's happening now. Gen Z is taking over, and because they have only grown up with technology, and they don't want to come into the logistics and be a data capturer. No, they want the data captured for them. They want to be the ones that's in power. And yes, I'll rather have the conversations with the client because it's more exciting for me. And I'd rather review the how many which shipments go where and just show me. I know it. I'll do it. And they will, is because the industry, I mean, the generation has changed. They are intelligent bunches that are out there, and we need to now, leadership plays a major role in the industry to drive that business growth, drive that different types of leadership titles out there, make new titles, make new job descriptions, because it's not the same anymore. Logistics is known for data driven, document driven. Now we need to drive to more paperless. Now we need to drive to more remote, because we need to get everybody on board, or else we're just going to be that labor shortage forever. That challenge is going to lay there forever. And that's where technology, automation, and everything comes on board. So Ahmet, how have you as a leader done this in your industry, in your company? What are some of your best practices?
I mean, that's the new thing, right? That everybody talks about nowadays, the generation gap, and as you said, we need to accept the fact that now we need to find a solution, a good solution to combine this, because I can tell you, I mean, I did this at least on myself, but I don't think a lot of similar age person like me who are still working for a corporate company will going to do what I did and put themselves into this challenge, right? But since we started, to be honest, I mean, and there is a lot of good things happening within this, but all you need to do is you need to basically start from understanding the generation, right? Where they are coming from. As you said, millennials, everybody coming right after are coming to an information world. I mean, even I have a son, 10 years old, I mean, he's born into this. And the discussions that I'm having with him is remarkable compared to what I'm having with just one decade ago. So what we are doing, And again, you need to be paperless, which we are already paperless. A lot of companies cannot still do that, but they need to do that first, right? And then remote working is basically we have almost 50% or close to 60% of our workforce today is already remote, right? And and they are new generation people. I mean, I think we hired someone who was born in 2000. That was the last one we hired, and we are finding, of course, a huge gap, but we are working with them. We are learning from them, basically. I mean, you need to be open from learning from them as well as teaching them, right? But the difference that I can only tell you, Wendy, is I was on a ship. I was right below a gantry crane. I was loading containers myself on a forklift. I mean, shipping, and I call it touching the freight, right? If you don't touch the freight, that's a different story. Of course, if you have never seen a ship, but you are doing logistics, it's a different mindset compared to who has seen one and who has experienced one. So all I'm telling to new generation is, hey, they are welcome, right? And of course, their learning period or learning curve will be much faster than what we had, because in our generation, come on, there was nothing called YouTube, or there was nothing called Google that you can just go ahead and type in and ask the questions. I mean, my son today is changing the things in a game that he's playing by looking at YouTube and watching the videos, right? And then he's just telling me, I've done it. Finally, it's now the way that I like it. I'm like, I said, forget it. I can't do that, of course. But I have, our generation, or what we know compared to what they know is different. And we need to find a good way of balancing this. There are a lot of things that we still need to continue to teach them. So there needs to be an open communication. I mean, as we are now in a computer world anyway, or an online platform, we always do our calls on a weekly basis with everyone, one-on-one calls as well as like a group, right? Gatherings, because it's no longer an environment of an office, right? Of course, we have our own office here. The people working from office is fine, but we also have tons of people who are working straight from home or where they work from. So finding the balance, explaining them what experience really means versus, how we use information right now, where they can be able to find themselves within some certain period of time after doing this and that. And still, don't forget that these are all human beings, right? And the way they look at life, the way they want to get what they want to get out of life is different, each and other. And we need to know them, get to know them as much as possible. They need to get to know us, and we need to give them paths within the company. That's what we are trying to do, instead of like hierarchy, that we are trying to be more, horizontal way, and then see who can do what after some period of time, and put some way forward with their way forward, and then give them a role if they are much feeling themselves much better and much enthusiastic in front of a customer, closing deals. Or some of them are, even though they are millennials, they are very good with data. They want to work with data, and they want to do what they want to do with the data, and they would like to create a difference there, right? So we are trying to give them that path. So we are pretty much open. We are not, let's put it that way. We are giving, or we are interviewing people, or we are opening jobs, not for the position. In our company, we are opening jobs for human beings, for people. And then when we get them, we are trying to embrace them within the company mentality as well as the company culture. And the first thing that we look is that if they are fitting our culture or not as a human being. After that, the time will going to tell us where they will going to land in the organization, what they will going to do best. We are trying always for the win-win ratio, and we are trying to give them where they feel themselves comfortable versus where we also see them, where they can grow and add more to the company as well as themselves. Because nowadays, I mean, they don't think like we used to think. Nobody wants to buy a house, Wendy. I mean, they want to live where they want to live. They want to put their backpacks, and tomorrow they want to work from Hamburg. wherever they are. So and you need to create an environment in order to allow this to happen, right? And that's what we are trying to do. As a leader, that's what I'm trying to do. At least open that gates in the organization, be a very open-minded organization. So we understand them, they understand us, we get to know them, they get to know us, but then there is an organization at the end of the day and everybody finds their way out.
Absolutely, Ahmed. As you said, it's about it's human beings. So everybody is unique, everyone's different, and I think that the fact that because this generational gap, as you said, they want to create that work-life balance. They out of the box thinkers. They come with new ideas because they have this fresh perspective on life at the moment. Something that we lacked growing up. Yeah, so I think they actually going to drive.
They sometimes get surprised, Wendy. They are like, "How come we can't get this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this is what it is." Why? And I'm like, "Hey, welcome to the club, right?" So it's not like you can't just swipe things all the time and then or make them bigger or smaller. This is a freaking container that you need to ship from one side to the other, and you still need to deal with a trucker. You still need to deal with the port. You still need to deal with what you need to deal with, and you need to still get that data and give it back to the customer. So it's not easy, but
And don't forget, still have to deal with the irate client on top of that. And still go home and act like everything's okay, like you had a good day. Yeah, I mean, we reached the end of our podcast, and it was so good. I mean, Amit, we definitely need to do this again. We have so much more to talk about. Anything else you want to add before we knock off?
no, I appreciate the opportunity. I mean, SFL is not an unknown company to us, anyways. I mean, I know Ikram very well, and we have been introduced through somebody else. And again, I need to maybe touch this to the relationships, right? At the end of the day, you need to build relationships. What if it would be with your customers, with your vendors, or with each other, right? So that's why where we are today. I appreciate the opportunity. Yes, I like it very much. Let's do it again. We didn't touch base couple things about infrastructure in US, right? What will going to happen? What's next? Things of that nature. But let's do it again. I'll be very happy to join, and I appreciate you taking the time as well.
Oh, that's great, Amit. Also, Halamdu, anything that you want to add before we close off?
To be honest, there isn't much. I would just like to appreciate Ahmed for honestly taking the time. This, what is a relatively short conversation, was actually very insightful for me. Especially considering how your man, yeah, the last question we talked about how, leadership style and how you manage like the generational shift and all that. So yeah, for me, yeah, I'd say I had a great time, and hopefully we get to meet once in a while and talk again.
Perfect. Thank you, Alhamdulillah, as well. And maybe just one last note, right? That can give a little bit of an information about the leadership style. I don't know if you visited our website or maybe you see on my signature, Wendy. It writes "No need for title." That's what kind of a leader I am. To be honest, I had all of those titles that I can get. To be honest, they mean nothing if you are not a real human being, if you are not a real person. So that's why even in the website, we marked it there, no need for title. So, and I'm trying to drive the organization towards. Of course, now still they want titles. They would like to get one because that makes that correlates something else to them. But I'm trying to get them towards I am right now, that they will not going to need a title because that's not very important at the end of the day. But let's see where we go. But we are still young, let's say, and see where we end up in a couple of years.
No, definitely looking forward to the expansion and the growing within for your company, and we'll definitely meet up again. So yes, thank you, Ahmet, for joining, and thank you so much for doing this with us, and Alamdu for joining me today. It was such an insightful and informative conversation, and definitely a lot of things that I didn't plan to talk about, I think we did talk about, which is always great to have. Yeah, so just for everyone that's watching, thank you all for watching. And if you want more content like this, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Soft Rate Logic, and we will try our best to push out more content of this with some huge names in the industry, such as Ahmet Erener, and all the way from New Jersey, USA. As you said, he needs no title. We don't have to give him a title. His name is Ahmet, and that's it. Yeah. So just a recap of what we went through. It's never too late to follow your dreams and follow your passions, and do anything that you want to do. And if you feel you need to make a change, that is entirely on you. And Ahmet has given us his story, and he's told us how he has done that. We went through the importance of visibility in the supply chain, leadership in logistics, and also how visibility is not just shipment visibility, but it's visibility in all areas of the organization and in the industry. Also, so much more for us to go through, and we can't wait to do this again. So, thank you all for watching.